growing correlation between insecurity and also the issue of resources as it concerns Nigeria. Many will say the growing insecurity and also the issue of farmers and herders clashes is all centered on human negative impact on the environment, and hence we are seeing a really fight to the finish as it concerns issues of resources. But the question still remains, how best can Nigeria in every way seem to protect the environment, and not only that, but seem to also do more as it concerns resources, not just for this generation, but the future ones to come? What needs to be done to ensure that the environment is in good condition and in every way stop the degradation of not just only the natural land resources, but also impacting positively as it concerns the global environment structure? With no regional roadmap as it concerns what West Africa intends to do on that ground, but should Nigeria not take the lead as it concerns development when it concerns the environment? What are those negative things that we seem to be doing that we need to stop as a people and help to redirect and change the narrative? Well, all of that is what seems to be having us have a reason to talk about this on the show today. And we're talking about human negative impact on the environment and how that seems to be brewing or indeed breeding conflict in Africa. That's what we're having as a major one. That's what we're having as a major discourse today on the show. We're talking about human negative impact on the environment and how that seems to be brewing more conflict around the Sahel region, and especially Nigeria. And that, like I said, that's what we're having as a major discourse today, because there's every tendency that many, especially the United Nations, seem to be indeed attributing the recent increase in violence and insecurity in Nigeria to the issue of fighting for scarce resources between farmers and herders. But what are we doing negatively that seems to be impacting and driving that scarce resources as it concerns the environment is what we're having. And to truly help us look at this, we have no other person but a member from the Nigerian Society of Environment. And we're talking of no other person but Mr. Felix Unumadu. Mr. Felix, welcome to the show, and nice having you as a major resource person as it concerns this very topic.
Thank you for inviting me.
Well, anyway, like I said in my introduction, there's this correlation between the growing insecurity in Nigeria to the issue of global and environmental change. And according to the United Nations recent report, they feel the reason we're having an uptick in violence, especially as it concerns the Northeast and North Central, is because of scarce natural resources that seems to be dwindling by the day due to human impact on the environment and the resultant global warming that seems to be driving a whole lot of natural resources as it concerns green vegetation. So my first question is, do you feel there's every correlation between the scarce resources and the recent uptick in violence, especially as it concerns Nigeria and the Sahel region?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. But before I answer the question, I first of all want to appreciate Atlantic TV for always making the platform an advocacy platform for environment to as well enhance and influence positive environmental behaviors among the citizenry. Then having said that, let me go straight to your question. When we want to talk about conflict, conflict is not in isolation with the environment, because even the conflict itself takes place in an environment. And when we talk about environment, we have two types of environment. We have the physical one that we'll talk about. We also have the social one. The social one is when you talk about technological environment, you talk about religious environment, and so other factors. You understand? So when you look at what is happening in Nigeria, you don't need a soothsayer to say that the deterioration of the environment has actually led to so many things. Both, in fact, is even a contributor to that scarce resources, is also a contributor to violence and the clashes you are seeing within the space. Okay, so let me first of all talk about human behavior towards the environment. When we want to talk about human behavior, we're talking about our actions, our either collective or privately, that influences the environment. Now, those are our actions. We took it because we wanted to achieve a particular aim or a goal. Then having said that, when we also want to break down the behavior, you break it into two. You look at the positive and the negative part. Then when you also bring it down, the subhead, you also now have the private fair behavior and the public fair behavior. Now the private fair is, what are my attitude? What am I doing? What are my actions that influences the environment, either negative or positive? When we want to talk about the public fair, we'll now ask, what are the public doing collectively, maybe as a government or as a group of people? What are our actions that influences the environment, either negative or positive? So you now see that everything we are saying, even the crisis itself, it centers on our own, what we intend to gain or what we intend to achieve at the end that triggers all these things. So they are all factors that influences the environment.
Okay, now, yes, you've just made mention of that. Now, I want us to leave, I want us not to just talk about the conflict that seems to be brewing in the Northeast and North Central on account of scarce resources, and how we're having influx of headers from other, coming down south that seems to have even a more better green vegetation to help nourish their cows. But let's leave that and look at a more general term. Yes, we used to talk about green revolution in the first military era of Obasanjo, when we had the former military head of state, General Obasanjo, in charge. I was talking about the late 70s. All of that seems to have faded away. We also came with the issue of 80s when we talked about planting more trees. All of that now seems to have faded away. Now we are being faced with the issue of headers and farmers clashes. Now, do you see or do you feel that policies of government have directly or indirectly affected why we are now where we are? Will you say some of their actions or inaction have greatly contributed to an uptick of all of this that is happening?
Okay.
As it concerns the environment.
Yes, thank you very much. Like you said, as it concerns the environment, you cannot exonerate the government, because the government are the part of the citizenry.
Yeah.
So you cannot exonerate them.
Okay.
You know, when we want to look at the headers and the farmers' crisis,
yes.
Actually, what actually causes it is that you have overgrazing in the north. You understand? The over the years, because it's the kind of culture that they are part of life. You know, they are part of life. Apart from that, you know, the nomadic came when the fact that, okay, we don't have much green vegetation to give our cows, so we have to move. So that nomadic came as a form of movement from one place to another, looking for greener pasture for the cows, not for human. Now, like I said, what actually led to that was that there was overgrazing. Over the years, you've seen that those vegetations, those green areas in the north have been fed to the cow for so many times. So at the end of the day, you don't have anyone. In fact, you now have desertifications. Yeah. You now have desert and all that instead of having those things. So because of that, they now said they needed vegetations for their cows. So they started moving down south to look for where they have those green,
and that's the reason we're having more of this.
And that's the reason we have, and that is why that nomadic was coined to them. Okay. But originally, it was not that they were that nomadic. It was as also because of the effect on environment that made them nomadic. So we can see that the effect of our activities on environment, it cannot be overemphasized, of the impact it will have. It will have both on our social, both on our culture, and even it can even change our pattern of belief. The environment influences your belief. You understand? Now, like I have established, you've seen that because they don't have more vegetation, they have become nomadic in nature. And it's also the same way that you see that the environment also causes people to migrate from one place to the another. So when you look at it, like I said, back to your question, like I said that last time, I said the major problem we have in Nigeria is that government does not have that systematic approach. They have individualism approach. That means they are individualistic in nature. Their approach is revolves around one person, just like the references you made in your introduction. You see when General Obasanjo came. He has his own
Green
revolution. And because he's the head of state, people tend to follow. You understand? Then when he left the position, because it was not systematically in place, somebody else now came with another idea. You understand? So that is how it is until we as the Nigerian government intend to factor environmental stewardship and environmental protection into the day-to-day activities systematically. It will only depend on individuals' contributions and individuals' patriotism to the environment to maintain environmental sanity.
Okay, now let's still try to make sense of all of this. Yes. Now, another major one that many Nigerians are also screaming that they feel the government is not picking or taking so much attention and heed to is the issue of poor regional planning. Just like we've talked about the issue of overgrazing. Yes. If the government had taken effect of these maybe 3 decades ago, we'll not be having the little crisis or the major crisis we're having now as it concerns migration of these herders that have now turned into bandits on account of not having enough grazing ground for their cows and are now coming down south and causing all these troubles. Now, let's look at another major one that persons feel the government is not also taking heed of. It's 2 major ones. Now, the first major one is the issue of regional planning. They feel the present, both in all 3 tiers of government, both at the local, state, and federal, is not paying heed to this. And because of that, like we stated, just 2 weeks ago, we had a report that 114 Nigerians were killed within the period of 1 month on account of flooding. Yes. Now, let's look at that also. Look at the risk assessment. Are we going to see an uptick of more persons die on account of poor regional planning in the country?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. Talking about poor regional planning, like I would say, Nigeria, they have so much policies and regulations. The basic challenge
and regulated bodies.
Yeah, and they have regulatory bodies. Yeah. But the basic challenge they have is enforcement. Okay. One, those in the government or those in power, they lack the political will to enforce it. Then, 2, again, I also see it, like I always mention, to me is ignorant.
Because ignorance on the part of the government.
Ignorance on the part of the drivers of, not the government. Government is a body, but the drivers of government. Most of them, they are ignorant. For example, let me give, for instance, if you make me a minister of power, for example, I don't know much about power, except the inclinations I got from environment. On that, we say I need a green and renewable energy and all that. I don't know the integrities.
Which will not form your mindset and policy around.
Yes, I don't know the integrities of power. So, for example, if I become the Minister of Power, or in fact, that one is even closer. Let me use the Minister of Health. I don't know anything about, I'm not a medical doctor. You now appoint me as a Minister of Health. What do you expect from me? I'm going to use my environmental knowledge to judge health issues. So in that, you see that at some point, I'll be putting a square peg in a round hole. I will not do the actual thing. That's why I said ignorant. If those that driver, for example, the Minister of Environment, Commissioner of Environment, down to even the environmental supervisor in local government, if they are inclined with the environment, you see that they will channel their policies in that manner. But because they were not inclined, and most of the time, they felt they have economic objective. So, and those economic objectives, they don't know that they're actually supposed to factor in environmental factors and environmental protection as it went into it. So they intend to follow, just like a trader. All you want to do is to buy and sell. You don't do risk assessment, that you said, what impact, what is the end of my product? What impact does it have on the environment? If I will ask myself, this clothes I'm wearing now, at the life cycle of this clothes, when they have the lifespan, where should I discard it? How do I manage it? Those are the questions I'm supposed to ask myself. But because these people, like I told you, the drivers most time, they are not actually inclined in that sense, in that aspect. So they intend to push what they felt they needed immediate feasibility, like they wanted to see what citizens will do. no matter what, when you look at the development, like the urban and regional planning you said, when you look at the development are supposed to have a systematic plan in place. In fact, what Nigeria lack most is data.
Okay.
When you are projecting, when you are doing projection, when you estimate that this year, for example, Nigeria is 2 million, next year, they are likely to give birth to about 100 children, then let's assume, okay, we are likely also to have loss, or we are likely to have about 50 deaths. You understand? When you project it, you now see that there is an addition of 50 to it, because they gave birth to 100 children, but you just have 50 deaths. The addition to 50. Now, those 50, where did they stay? If, for example, I have mapped out this area, and the other land are not attended to, I will ask myself, these 50 people, would they be confined in the same space?
Within that closed space.
You understand? Within the closed space. How am I going to manage the other step of the land? Nigeria have so many dormant acres of land. Like I said, Nigeria have, if you might even refer to some of them as waste, because I told you last time I appeared that any resources that is not utilized, that is not in use, is waste at that particular time, because it's not in use. You might use it in future, but at that time it's actually waste. So if Nigeria, they have this plan and strictly follow the plan, like I told you in my last appearance, I said, you are supposed to say this area, this is the type of building, because of the topography of the place. You are supposed to build downstairs, no upstairs. Then you are supposed to maintain some parameters from the waterways, the estuaries and other bodies. You are supposed to maintain biodiversity. You are supposed to have environmental aspects. These are what that are supposed to be in place. But we don't have that plan. All we know is clear this area, build for development. And that is why, because of the population, that is why you have these shanties, like I told you. Because people intend to move down to urban cities. And when the city is congested, they try to attach themselves and they build shanties. You understand? So urban and regional planning is supposed to have the data and projection of development, stride, and how they intend to cope in future. That's what they're supposed to do. That is what sustainability is all about. You make use of the resources for the benefit, and also ensure that the future generation, they have access to the same resources to solve their own problem. So to me, when it comes to urban and regional planning, Nigeria is lacking in enforcement, not in policies and in law, but they are lacking in enforcement.
Okay. Well, anyway, well said. Now, we've talked about two major and critical issues that seem to be pressing hard on us. We've talked about the issue of herders and farmer class on account of scarce resources when it comes to grazing of the cattle, and farmers also planting to sustain themselves and their family. And we've talked about the issue of flooding that is on account of regional planning. Now, let's leave those two major policies and come to health of Nigerians, especially as it concerns how we use our environment. Now, we are almost within the period of rains going into the dry season. We call it Harmattan season. And on one major illness that seems to plague Nigerians around this time is the issue of cough and catarrh due to dust and haze that seems to be hovering around in the environment. Now, let's look at that. Let's come back to deal with the issue of the environment. Now, why are we having an uptick and increase the issue of catarrh and cough within this period? Okay. Why is that always so prevalent around this time?
Like you said, you know, the season itself has its own trigger as it comes to allergic reactions in our body. Now, when you have, like the rainy season, those wet season, you are likely going to experience cold. And those could also trigger this cough and catarrh. Yes. So what actually happened is that the reason is that when your body system is overwhelmed, you know, in your body there is what we call homeostasis that stabilizes the temperature within your system, no matter the external forces. You understand? But when it's like calling for help. When those homeostasis have done their job and they felt they needed help, that is when you see those allergic, like coughing and other reactions to to ensure that, okay, we need help or try and help the external body so that it will not be affected. But having said that, that is for the wet season that we are living. Now, the question you are asking, why are we having an increase now? There are so many reasons. Like I always tell you, climate change is a contributing factor because the climate is not stable as it were. It is changing. So, like you are now having more of greenhouse gases. Now, when you have greenhouse gases, those greenhouse gases, they intend to shade the ozone. You understand? So it now makes the earth warmer. And when the earth is warmer, it has these things on your own body system. Because your body system intends to adjust to kind of forming resilience to what is prevailing at that time. But before they're able to do that, they have some maneuvering, like your body system maintain. And also, when you also look at it, especially when it comes to Delta State, you see that everywhere you go now, there is construction going on in Delta State.
Okay.
Now, what does it do? When construction is going on, you have this dust, like you mentioned, and you have these fumes. These fumes, they enter through your body through inhalation. Like when you inhale them, you breathe them in. So when you breathe them in, they trigger all these things like the catarrh and then the cough and every other thing you are saying. You understand? And so the reason why it's increasing now is because, one, like I said, the climate change, and second, the issue of the constructions going on when you see this dust coming up. And the reason why that is even happening, because like I mentioned, there were no actually EISA, that is Environmental and Social Impact Assessment. We articulated.
That we call risk assessment.
And risk we articulated. If not, these things, like I always tell you, they are avoidable. What am I saying?
I was almost going to ask, how would you avoid that when we are neck deep into construction?
Yes. So,
for example, you go to the PTI road.
Yes.
As you're coming from the DSC to the PTI.
Yes.
That's where we have a lot of what you are talking about, especially when the day is dry and not easy. So yeah, we see a lot of that, especially. So what would they have done differently to help either reduce or totally navigate us away from all of that construction and the end of dust and all that seems to transpire with us?
Okay, right. Thank you very much. This is what that's where I'm trying to make this point now.
Yeah.
When you talk about environmental impact assessment or environmental and social impact assessment, it is a systematic analysis of an anticipated project. You understand? Then you have not started the project. You want to start up the project, but you make analysis and you project a potential impact, whether negative or positive. When it is negative, then you think about mitigative measure. You understand? Now, for example, if I know that if I'm doing construction and at this period when it's not raining, those dust and fumes that are going to be prevalent, I will say, okay, let me sprinkle water. Maybe first thing in the morning, when I see that it's going down, I also repeat the same thing. Then I also restrict people's movement. Normally, we are not supposed to be going through construction sites. There are supposed to have been alternative route. You understand? If these alternative routes that are provided, then you will be sure that the inhalation of this dust, they are eliminated. And another thing again, like when you want to talk about the Niger Delta itself, you know, Niger Delta is a let me call it the oil hub. You have a lot of activities going on. You have some area, you have industries, industrial activities going on. One thing that human body does is that there are ways we absorb chemical, you understand? Like the intake of chemical to human body comes in different way. Like I said, you can inhale it, like you breathe it in. There also, another one again can be injection, like when you inject it to your body. You understand? That one is injection. The other one is injection. Injection like digestion when you swallow. It can. Then you also have absorption that comes through your skin. For example, this though you might be passing a dust area, you cover your nose rings, you cover your mouth, but they tend to stay close to your pores. They stay and they percolate, they enter through your pores. In fact, that is even worse because that finds its way to your bloodstream. Now, the one that is in your nose, you can easily have allergic, and then because like this hair we are seeing in our nose, what their work is actually to filter some particles. That is what they do for us. So these nose, they can help in filtering the particles. But the skin, especially when it's very smooth and there are no hair and nothing to prevent some these things, you see that you absorb them into your skin, and it causes a lot of issues.
Now, if the skin is that so important in helping us, because you've now made mention that it can help also absorb into the skin.
Yes.
But many will say it can also best protect against. Now, let's talk about the issue of, we're talking about risk assessment and the issue of health. We know some persons, especially ladies, that use cream to either look good and look fine on account of this. Can that also impact negatively and also in every way make the skin not be that protective shield and easy assessment of all of these into the body?
In fact, like this organic cream you see in the market, what it does is even making your skin lighter, because it tends to peel out the out layer, then bringing out the inner, which is very succulent, attractive, and very fine. It tends for ladies, it tends to do that. So this organic cream is even worse. It is even worse when it comes to ladies. And trust ladies, it's like they know, most of them, you don't like, unlike men that you can easily expose yourself to someone, they don't do that. They try to protect and prevent themselves from that, and which is very good, because they will become more vulnerable to those things than that is even not using cream or using the normal cream. You understand? So it's also a contributor. But the major factor is environment. It's environmental factor. Our attitude, like I said in my introduction, our attitude, our behaviors towards the environment, that is what makes a difference.
I'm now being forced to ask you now, and my question is, what are some of the things you feel we do as a people that are greatly impacting negatively on the environment? Let's get to know.
Okay, so thank you for that question. The things we do that impact on the environment, they are very enormous.
If you can just reel out some very important ones, and some that seem to be on the front stage.
Yes, so like when you look at our action, especially when it comes to one, let me look at Warri as a case study. I would take waste management. Improper waste management in Warri is the damage we are doing to the environment on one side, and is also contributor to this flood. You just read out 150 people died. If we continue, like you ask, if it's going to triple if there is nothing, because if we continue this way, imagine we know that Warri is a water-prone area. Like you have some amount of dormant water when it rains. It is that time they will come to pour their waste and all that into the same water, and not forgetting that those water will dry off. You understand? And when you are even doing that, do you know how it causes flood? When you are doing that, it prevents percolation.
Percolation.
Yeah, to the soil. For example, if I throw my waste because I see there is a storm water there, I throw my waste there. For example, I will have plastic, like the ones we call cellophane. I will have other waste. I will even have clothing. You understand? I will have clothing. Don't forget that they now form shade to the soil. So percolation becomes hard. When the way the heavy water is dropping, it does not percolate, like the soil will not be able to absorb it. Because they are like a canopy, they are acted as a shade. Before you know, you will see that the water is still there. You understand? Because what we refer to flood, for example, is when you have a huge amount of water You understand? At a particular place, at a particular time, as a result of, let me call it unanticipated rainfall. So it remained there. And before you know, when it rained more, because it's not percolating, it's not going down, you will see that the water is building up. And once it builds up, it becomes flooded. Over time, it covers everywhere. And there is no escape, because there is no escaping route from to the soil. That's one. There are another effects again of this improper waste management is you block the water channels. When you throw those waste, they go as long going to the water channels, they block, they stay there. So those water that comes, they now have something like a shield or a preventive, like a barrier, let me call it barrier. They now act as barrier, preventing them to pass free the water channels and go to those water banks where they're supposed to be. You understand? Once that is done also, you anticipate flood. You understand? Then when we want to talk about erosion itself, like we said, when you have overgrazed somewhere, like when you have cut down all the trees in that place, erosion is likely going to take place. You understand? So even mining itself, like when, especially when you go towards the north, like from Auchi, they do these quarry activities where they this limestone and even gravels for that we use. You understand? Those are the activities that actually impact the environment negatively. Then we want to look at our industries, for example. Like in Nigeria, you see that Nigeria is still doing gas flaring. In fact, those in the
21st
century, like for example, cooking gas is very expensive in Nigeria, but you are just wasting it. You understand? There are technologies in place that you can, like in some people they call it condensate. Those things they flare. So they call it condensate. It's like a mixture of a kind of vapor and small oil attached, small gases. You understand, attached to it. That's what they flare. So if they can bring this in, they can turn them to cooking gas and other things. So gas flaring is also one of the major character that is contributing to negatively to environment. Then you also want to look at even farming, for example. You know, when I was growing up, my grandmother, they normally do this land rotation. Like they will farm here this year. They will leave that parcel of land. They will go there for about 3 years.
To make it regenerate.
Now what they are doing is to make it regenerate. But nowadays, you don't have that system. Maybe the person, they have one part of land, and because the communal system of ownership Nigeria practice, most of the family, they've sold their land. So they don't even have that much land to do the land rotation. So what they do, only one parcel of land, you continue farming, they're adding fertilizer. You are killing the nutrients of the soil. And you are even calling for flood, and you are calling for erosion. Because over time, when you are overstretched that parcel of land, these are likely, apart from losing its nutrients, flood and erosion that place is prone to flood and erosion.
Now,
so there are so many, like I told you initially. I can also continue counting. Even when you look at our health sector, the management of those medical waste, they call them medical waste. The question you ask when you go to our health sector, how are they managing those medical waste? Is another question. One, when you don't manage your medical waste properly, is even not only environmental risk, just like other ones I've mentioned. They don't have only environmental risk, they have health risk, and they even have economic risk. And they have the socioeconomic risk as well. All attached to it. Okay, so when you don't manage all this, your medical waste, this one, is still under the waste management. When you don't manage your medical waste properly, one, if you dispose it anyhow, because most of those wastes are infectious. Most of them, like the blood, they contain some diseases and infections. So you expose the soil to soil pollution, you expose water pollution as well. Because when you have soil pollution, you're also likely to have water pollution because the water flows through the soil. So it will wash it away and take it to the tributary and the streams. And don't forget that the villages, most of the stream, they go straight there, take the water without proper treatment, and they drink. So you are seeing, so it means now you are now treating some set of people and exposing other people to more. And don't forget that the secondary contaminant is more dangerous than the first contaminant. Okay. That's what people don't know. And let me tell you this today. If anybody is smoking cigarettes where you are, you have two options. Walk away from that vicinity or tell the person to off the cigarette. Because what the person is, they will call you are a secondary smoker in that area. But you are more prone than the first smoker. The first smoker, the cigarette have the filter. You understand? So there are some elements it can take. But it is one that is releasing both what is in the system is all bacteria are there. Everything that is what is given to you. Free of charge. So you are more dangerous. You are more risky. You are in a risky position than the person that is smoking. So that is how these secondary infections operate. So when you contact those infections through these waters and this, or they are more dangerous. Like for example, the E. coli. Okay. The E. coli you are seeing. E. coli is a part of bacteria that helps in breaking down substances in the soil. Yeah. Imagine that now enters human body. That means E. coli, it will not be breaking your system. You understand?
Because that's
what it's normally meant for. So it's not supposed to be in your system at all. It's not supposed to be in your system.
Now, I was wanting to ask now, which is more prevalent in the Niger Delta and Delta State as we are? Some of the things you feel we do that seems to be affecting the environment itself. What seems to be more prevalent around this side?
Okay,
negative.
Yes, I said, I mentioned, I told you that if I want to do risk assessment in Warri, I will start with waste management. Yeah. Improper waste is one of the most prevalent because every household, they know that they need to dispose their waste, even if they don't know any other thing about the environment. But they know themselves that them keeping those waste around the environment will make it more dirty and dangerous to them. They know that. Yeah. You understand? So that practice of improper waste management is more prevalent in Delta State, especially in Warri, where you see that it is raining, like I told you. They turn in their waste into the storming waters. They just felt that the water is going away with their waste. But they don't ask themselves, where is the end? Where is it taking them to? You understand? Those waters are not like human that they can walk and travel. Yes. You understand? They have a channel they pass. So they also forget that the impact they make in Warri can as well affect people in Asaba and people in the US. Because environmental impact is not like when you contaminate these places, remain there. It's like a transit, it is on transit, or it spread, it moves. So, for example, when you can throw water here, and you'll be surprised that water will find itself waste will find itself in the sea. Because by the time you follow the water channels, the rivers and all that, and you find itself in the sea. You understand? So, one of them is that improper waste management. Then the second again I've seen is these scavengers.
Okay. That we call them aboki.
They call them aboki, all these people. These scavengers, what I think government should have done is to properly arrange them, educate them, organize them. You understand? Because when you go to some area, you see that they will be digging the ground. Yes. Digging for maybe one even a cover beer. That's what they're digging for. They dig for so long for a cover beer or something. After digging and they will leave that place. What do you think happens to that thing? You understand? Those are not questions they're asking themselves. And sometimes they themselves, like I said, I've said it in this program, that they expose themselves to health risk. I also mentioned it that what they even get is not even enough to take care of their heads. They don't even know that.
When the time comes.
When the time comes. So they are supposed to, because when they expose themselves to this hazard, then they expose themselves to this hazard over time. You see that they are risk.
Yeah.
They are at risk. In fact, they become vulnerable.
Yeah.
And once they are vulnerable, you don't eliminate that they are likely to get attacked from those illnesses. So those scavengers should be well organized. And I also want to go back to the waste management, like I said. You know, apart from those, because I just mentioned those people pouring their waste, death. Then this, how do I call them? Should I also refer to them as scavengers? These people that pushes wheelbarrow to collect waste, from one place to another. They do that.
Local waste.
Yes. They push wheelbarrow to your house. They pack your waste. You give them money. But most time you'll be surprised that you find your waste on the middle of the road. Your waste is in the middle of the road. Because at the end of the day, they will not have where to take it to. It is it is not that structured and organized that once you carry your waste, this is the dump site for this. And like I told you, these people, they don't do waste classification and characterization and the segregation. They don't do all those things.
They just keep all of them.
They just keep all of them in one place. Both even the biodegradables and non-biodegradables, they join all of them together and pack them to those places. You understand? So if we can organize our waste, they should not also forget that waste is wealth. And I defined waste that last time. I also said it that waste is also depends on the availability of technology, the time and where it is generated. You know, I also said that what you call waste now is a raw material to somebody very close to you might not even know that the person need it as a raw material. So if it is well organized, we can have access to people that will need this waste. They will make use of it. But because it's not well organized,
but don't you think that's why we're not having these scavengers, like we call them, going around the city? Because I could still remember some 2 decades ago, the issue of iron was a major concern in Nigeria. Anywhere you go, you see, and it does not decay on time.
Yes, it doesn't even decay at all.
It might
it does get rust,
but it takes a whole lot of time for it to degrade.
It does not degrade.
Okay.
Iron does not degrade.
Are we saying it's not a plus that we now have all these aboking scavengers coming to assist us with that? Second one now, the issue of rubber is also on the front burner.
Yes.
Nowadays, you hardly see containers for rubber. It is now also in high demand. And I've learned most recently, sachet water, what we call the cellophane sachet water, is also being sought out for. So would you not call this as a blessing in disguise, having all of this being helped to remove them among or around where people normally stay?
Okay, you know, most time I talk.
And I'm wondering why you're laughing.
No, I always refer you to that my theory of a cobra effect or the snake effect that happened in Dahili some very long time ago. But it's a theory in economics. Now, what that theory is a developmental theory. That theory foreseeing a process or a situation where you intend to solve immediate problem, you now create a bigger one
in future.
Now, why did I laugh? If you allow these scavengers to handle it the way they're handling it now, in future you are going to have more environmental and health issues. You understand? Because there are going to be outbreak. At the long run, there will be outbreak. How are you going to? You will not have, you will not have a huge burden on the health facilities, which we even have minimum. You understand? So what I'm saying, in essence, the government should organize it properly. When it is well structured, make sure that these people, they are trained. You tell them where to pick, where to drop it. They have a system of when they will collect what they have paid. Like when you go to, even in Lagos, at I saw it somewhere in Lagos. I can't remember now. When I went to Lagos, there's now this machine like ATM machine. When you go there, you take your plastic to the place, and over time, yes, it gives you money. You understand? Like when you go to US or other developed countries, that's what you have. You don't have people pushing this up, and only you can pick just one you have, slot it there. It's mechanized, you understand? From there, you don't know how they take it from there, but it's a mechanized system. They're already disposing it in the best way without posing the health issue to anybody at all. You understand? And it's being recycling as well. So if we want to properly do it, so that it will not have a negative impact on the environment and the health, that means we have to structure it. Since we are not that mechanized, we don't have that technology in place, you can organize them. You understand? Like I said, you can organize them. Okay. Give them
you are talking about these scavengers?
These scavengers, give them personal protective equipment. Okay. At least to protect themselves. Tell them the kind of places they are supposed to access. Then how they intend to take those this thing they are looking for there. Then where they will drop it, organize. You understand? Don't forget that most of them you see them, they pick these things around, and during the means of transportation, they littered it on the road. During the means of transportation, what they have suffered this time today, they lose half of them. You now see other ones coming behind to start picking those as their own source. You understand? So it is not well properly organized. So it's all
about government's inadequate or inability of restructuring and putting these things in place.
Yes, government should restructure and put in it should, like always use our word, system. It should be a system, not individual. Okay. Don't tell me to fix it today. Then when I leave the office, it go back to normal, even become worse.
Well, anyways, we've been talking for close to an hour now, and you agree that it's so interesting in our knowledge of what we need to do as a people to deal with the issue of getting the proper environmental study, so we do not in every way impact the environment negatively. And we've still had no other person but a fellow of the Nigerian Society of Environment.
Member of Nigerian Environmental Society.
Yes. Okay, he's just trying to be modest. Well, he's a member, but I know him as a fellow before. But anyway, if he says he's a member, he's a member. And I'm talking of no other person but Mr. Felix Unumadu. I will really need to thank you so much. We've been on this discussion for close to an hour now, if not up to an hour. And you just really highlighting some of the major fundamentals that we need to really know as a people. I will truly appreciate you. And like we always say, Oliver Twist, we always come and ask for more, especially as it concerns having your insight into environmental issues. Thank you so much for honoring our invitation. We really appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
Well, anyway, it's more like a wrap for me on the show today, but let the discussion still continue. You know, we always enjoy it continuing. Please, let's get your reaction as it concerns some of the actions that we as a people take or do that's impacting the environment negatively, and what the government needs to do to ensure that we do not run into a whole lot of difficulties in the nearest or foreseeable future as it concerns some environmental issue. Yes, we are neck deep into flooding as it concerns not just only erosion, but also landslide. It's also affecting us, like it's affecting some major countries in Asia. We also have the issue of scarce resources due to overgrazing that have impacted negatively in the northeast, north central. That is now having headers come all the way from there down here, and we're having constant conflict between farmers and herders. What should the government do? How proactive should they be? All of those comments should be on our different social media platforms. Let's have you comment, share, and like, and let's see how we can always enjoy to bring those lovely topics that you like always to your doorstep. But it's more like a wrap today on Dialogue right here on Viewpoint.